Imagine waking up one day and realizing that a war thousands of kilometers away is not just increasing your petrol prices, but also making your LPG cylinder more expensive and sometimes very harder to get as well. Now, this is not distant geopolitics, this is India's economy today. India is one of the fastest growing economies, but also highly vulnerable towards external shocks, as we import nearly 85 to 90% of our crude oil and a large share of LPG as well. So when global conflicts like disruption in supply chain occurs, it creates both price shock as well as physical shortages that we are currently experiencing in terms of the LPG cylinders. Now, here how the shock spreads. First, the imported inflation it rises. Second, because the energy is used almost everywhere, this turns into a cost push inflation across the economy. And third, the rupee depreciates as the demand for dollar increases. Fourth, the current account deficit widens, putting more pressure on the macroeconomic stability. So, a conflict abroad becomes a macroeconomic shock at home. Now, why it matters? Because this is critical phase for India as India is currently underway to realize its demographic dividend. But high inflation and slower growth can lead to higher inflation, lower real incomes, reduced number of job created, as well as reduced investment as well. And in extreme cases, this risks stagflation like condition, which is characterized by low growth and high inflation. Now, in order to handle all of this, how should India plan ahead? That is, first diversify is energy imports and lock in long-term LPG and crude oil contracts with multiple nations in order to not just reduce the supply risk as well as reduce dependency on one particular nation as well. Second, accelerate renewables and electric mobility who structurally cut oil prices and oil dependence rather. And third, use targeted direct beneficiary transfer subsidies to protect households from LPG price shocks without burdening the fiscal deficit. And fourth, actively manage the strategic reserves to stabilize prices and prevent shortage. And finally, promote rupee-based trade settlements to reduce pressure on currency. Now, in today's interconnected world, if we see, India's challenge is not just high growth, but building a resilient economy that can withstand global shocks that we are currently experiencing in terms of the US-Iran conflict and disruption in supply chain around the Middle East, so that we can continue our development journey without slowing down the growth.